every Divi 5 user is going to hit the same brick wall. Chances are you're going to go in and start designing your websites as you were doing in Divi 4, and that is going to be disastrous. Look at this. This is out of the box Divi. I haven't done anything to this. The text is off, the spacing is off. So this means you have to go in and adjust this one by one. So for example, this is our heading. You'd go in here, go to your heading text and set your heading size. But the thing is, you're not just setting your heading size for one view. You are probably going to say, okay, I want this to be 40, for example, but on the tablet, I want this to be slightly smaller, maybe 36. And then on this view, I want it slightly smaller, and so on. And you are going to do this on each and every item. Can you imagine how long this is going to take? Well, thankfully, there is a design system that can make things easier. Just in a few clicks, you're able to convert this design into something that looks like this. Now, this is very, very clean, very, very easy to achieve. And I'm going to show you the new way of designing websites in Divi 5. Forget about how you used to design your websites in Divi 4. That does not work. You are going to have inconsistencies. You're going to have a website that is going to frustrate you because it's going to be very, very difficult to maintain. You're also going to have a website which is going to be very, very slow because you're entering all these values manually. And if you're in a design agency, can you imagine trying to pass on the project to the next team member without a proper strategy or a proper system? Now, a system approach is how you're supposed to be designing websites in Divi 5, and I'm really excited to show you the way forward. Okay, so we are trying to achieve this as quickly as possible. All right, so this is what we have out of the box with Divi 5. So what you need to do is to go in, select that. Over here on the top, we want to make sure that this is, okay, let's make it a label. Boom, just like that. This one here needs to be a heading. So let's go in and set this to, we want this to be, nice and big. So we're going to select this text here. Next, we have this paragraph text, which supports our main heading here. And again, I would like this to look really nice as well. Not as my body text, but slightly larger. Boom. And now we have that. Okay, so it's time to sort out our buttons. Okay, so I'm going to select my button here, but I don't want to use the default. I want to use something that goes on with my system. Now look at this. Primary button. Boom. Now I have my primary button. If I need that to be a secondary button, I can just go in and say secondary button. Boom. And now I have my button. All I have to do now is to go in and make sure that everything is all centered. So I'm going to come over here to alignment and center it. Okay, but still, we're not there yet because our spacing is not correct. And as a professional designer, which really you're supposed to be aiming to be, because that's where the money is, you need to make sure you have a spacing scale. And if you go out there, and look at how UI designers design, they use what is known as a spacing scale. Anyway, I'm going to come over here to my row settings, go to my content, and then in my elements here, I'm going to go into my column. And this is where I'm going to go into design and make sure that I remove the default sizes that Divi gives us. We don't want that. We want our own spacing. So with that now, I can go in and say, okay, you know what? For this, I want a margin top of, let's say, medium. And then for this one here, we're going to go for a margin top of, let's go with small. And then for my button here, let's go for a spacing of margin top. Let's go medium. And already this is now starting to take shape. But if you speak to a UI designer and you ask them, how does this page look? They will tell you that it is not there yet. It's 80% there because our row is not the correct size. We are not allowed to have a row which stretches across the width of the website. Okay, this needs to be a reading width. And again, we have a specific setting for that. I'm going to come over here to row settings, and this is going to be wide text row. And just like that, we have now achieved a proper layout that is going to work for pretty much any professional looking website. I mean, how cool is that? This approach is a system approach. So this idea of eyeballing your spaces and looking at the text and saying, I think that's the right size. I think that does not work anymore. In fact, you are going to think Divi is super complicated if you start designing your websites like that. I mean, look at all these other page builders. They are approaching a system in their design process. And this is what we need to do with Divi 5 in order for us to enjoy designing with Divi 5. So the same applies with colors. We cannot use random colors. You know how in Divi 4 we used to go in, like, for example, let's say we want to change the background color. What we would normally do is we would come over here and then go into the eyedropper tool and then start choosing our color like that. That is a thing of the past. We cannot do that anymore. We can't. So the right approach is to go in and use what is known as a color system. Look at that. So we have all our shades for our primary colors. We have all our shades for our secondary colors. We have all the grayscales. We have all the cemented colors. So pretty much everything now is going to be consistent. I will never forget my colors. Now, let me show you what I mean when I talk about the color. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to convert this hero area into a dark mode or a darker version, okay? And notice how easy it is using our design system. I'm gonna select my background here, okay? And then we're gonna go over to our background and we want to use our primary, but we want it very dark, okay? We're gonna go with primary 800, okay? Or maybe let's try 700. But you see now, if I do this, it's actually following a scale. Okay, let's try 600. Okay, just to make things very exciting. All right, so now that I have this as my main background color, let's assume this is going to be my dark mode. If I want to now change my text, all I have to do is to select the text, and notice what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go into design, and then under my heading text, I'm just going to say heading light, just like that. For my text here, I'm going to select it, go to text, text light. I mean, did you see how easy it was for me to just convert this? Even if I teach my team to do this, they're going to be very excited about it because I am choosing what are known as preset. The design way I'm going to be showing you throughout all this is a preset based design, and this is very, very powerful. Okay, so now let's say at any point I want to change that because I feel like no, it's not dark enough. I can just undo that, go back in here, go back over here and choose my colors. So I'm going to go in and say, you know what, and I'm going to go with a really dark color here, primary 800. Okay, so maybe perhaps this is the best color. Okay, so as we are designing, right, you may think, oh, okay, well, this is, pretty cool. It's very exciting. But what about the modules? Because as we design, modules are going to be the building blocks. Think of them as bricks as we're building our website. So out of the box, it doesn't work great as well. Now, let me show you what I mean. If I go in here and select a few blurbs, okay, that's one. Now, do you see how it doesn't look right out of the box? Okay, now you may be thinking, well, Mac is just saying this, right? Let's duplicate this, okay? And let's have these side by side. I'm going to come over here to my row settings. I'm going to go to my elements, choose column, and I'm going to make them side by side using Flexbox. So I'm going to come over here and set this to horizontal. Okay, so as we're looking at these two, right? If I select this one, come over here to the top, and then choose K blurb. Now, do you see that things have changed a little bit? I know it has gone super big, okay? So let's get rid of this one here, okay? Because this is supposed to be the right size. So what I'm going to do is to duplicate this and then show you the before and after so you can see the difference. So this here is without the design system applied to it, okay? So the one on the top is without the design system. Now I want you to see the difference. Do you see that the heading here is the correct size and the text here is the correct size, but it's not over here on the top, which means if you're new to design, you would now have to go in and make sure that this size is correct. So you're going to select this and then go over here to to your text, and sometimes it's confusing which one it is. Okay, so you're going to go to body text and then decide what size it's going to be. Is it going to be 16? And then you're going to choose the heading as well, and make sure it looks great on the tablet. Now, do you see how this looks nice on the tablet? And finally, do you see how this looks great even on the mobile? Fantastic. So you want to make sure that you are using a design system for this. Now, check this out. I can choose another style. Let's go with primary. Okay. So now if I need to go in and make a few tweaks, I can now use my design system to make those tweaks. So for example, I can go in and say, you know what? I want to add a bit of padding around this. Now, I want you to pay attention on how I'm adding the padding. I'm going to come over here to spacing, and I can go in and say padding all medium. Boom. Do you see that? As simple as that. Over here, I can do the same thing. I can select my blurb, and then I can also go in and say spacing. I want this to be padding medium. Okay. And just by doing that, I have transformed my blurb. All I have to do at this stage is to go in now and add my image. So I'm going to go to image and icon, delete that, and add my image. So let's go with this one here. Upload image. And just like that, now I have my image, and I can do the same over here as well. I can choose my image like that, and it is perfect. So this one here reacts differently if it is on a lighter background. So let's go in and add a light background. Now, as we're designing, again, we're going to need some light backgrounds throughout our design. So that is also set for you. So we can go with BG light, just like that. Okay. Or if you want to go with dark, you can just go in and say BG dark. And now we have the dark mode. But you know, it gets really exciting. Over here now, if I were to go in and choose the blurb, which is a dark, notice what happens now. It is a nice little color here in the background, but I know you're looking at this thinking, maybe it only works with this color. Well, absolutely not. In fact, you know what? Let's get rid of these two here because they're distracting us. They're not the right size. They got a lot of things missing. So if I select this background, I want you to see how really things get exciting when I start changing the color. So I'm going to get rid of that. Go to my background, and just for this demo, I want to go in and just choose a random colors. Now look at this. If I go in and choose this color, do you see the darker mode? You know, look at that. Look at the dark mode. How it is adapting according to the color that I choose. Did you see that? So your colors are going to look awesome. Look at that. Whatever color I choose. You see that? Look at that. This is going to save you time, and it's going to ensure that your designs are going to be consistent throughout. Now, the dark mode is actually very, very fun to work with. Let me add a few more items here. So I'm going to click here. Let's say this time around, we want to add, let's say an email opt-in. Okay. How about that? Okay. So out of the box, this is what it looks like. But if we use our design system, we can go with the dark mode. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Anything that has dark mode or dark in it is going to look amazing. Let's add another one. Let's look for another one. Okay, so we're going to add, what should we add this time? Okay, we've done the email opt-in. Let's look for accordion. Okay, there it is. Out of the box, you can see it is not very good. Okay, I won't use very harsh words here. It doesn't look very good. Okay, but if I come over here, I can choose the dark one, and just like that. I mean, do you see how clean and how beautiful that is? Amazing. And one more time, let me just change the color of the background. So again, you can see how really awesome this is. I'm going to go to my section background here, and then I am going to change the color a little bit. Okay, so you can see already the colors are changing. You see that? So everything here is going to be consistent because this is my dark mode. It's clean, and this is going to ensure that you have a website that looks modern with very, very minimal work. Now, the design system comes with the normal modes and the dark modes. So for example, here you can see this is email opt-in dark. So I can choose the light version, which is that. Okay. And I can also choose the primary version. Okay. So with the primary version now, I have to remove this light one from the back. And you can see now it looks great. So not only do you have a design system that is taking care of the spacing or the colors or the fonts or the typography. No, it is also covering all these modules. Every single module you can think about has been redesigned, reconfigured, and it is responsive. Now look at this. Look at the sizes. It just looks beautiful, right? There's no need for you to go in and adjust any of these sizes here. No need to come over here to play around with this and say, oh, what size should I put over here? Everything is clamp based. For those of you who are technical, clamp is sizes that adapt based on the screen size. So it is very, very powerful. But I know you're going to say, but Mac, you know what? Okay, it's fine. We have these headings, we have these texts, and it can be very, very confusing. When do we use the display large or display medium or display small? And believe it or not, some people don't even know when to use H1 throughout the page, or when to use H2, or when to use H3. Yes, even I didn't know. I will admit, until I started learning how the design process actually works. But you know what? I've done things very, very exciting. I have created what is known as the KrafterPRO user guide. This user guide tells you exactly what you need to use at what stage. For example, we have our typography and hierarchy here. If we open this up, okay, we can see here we have our headlines. So K heading display large, medium, and small. This is this right here. So if I select it one more time, you can see this is the large, medium, and small. The K display is what we're talking about here. So it is saying the usage is display large is for the primary hero hook. Okay, so for major promise or sales angle. Display small is for secondary promotional headlines or landing page sub heroes. So if you want to create a landing page sub hero, that is when you want to use your display small. Okay, now we also have our headings. Now this is what I was talking about. Heading 1, okay, is the main outcome or promise of the page. Usage: use once per page to communicate the core benefit or objective. Okay, so it's telling us where it's used. So it's used once per page. Now, sometimes you see websites where they have H1 several places across the page, and that doesn't look nice. It's not professional. Okay, heading 2, section headers. Okay, that introduce new blocks of information. Usage: to start major section or chapters in your narrative. You see what I mean? So H2 is going to be the one you're going to be using, you know, pretty much for the most part for every section header. Okay, now we have the subheadings, and then it goes on to describe all these other items. Now we also have a do's and a don'ts. And I think this is also very, very important as a designer, because you need to know what is encouraged and what is discouraged. So here we're saying, do not use H1 more than once per page. Okay, that's a pro tip. And then here it says, don't skip heading levels, going from heading 1 to heading 3. Again, it messes up the hierarchy of the sizes. It messes it all up. So we have a lot to read here. We have the color system. We have the complete spacing scale. I mean, it tells you how to space things out. You can see here the micro spacing. We have the structural spacing, and then the section padding. Oh, let's talk about sections. So as we're designing, you may find out that, okay, well, how do we know what spacing to use? Well, if we come over here, there's section small, medium, large, extra large. So if you do that, you can see now we're on extra large. And if we go for full, that is like for our main hero, but we're not going to use that yet. Okay, but the option is there. So as we are designing, you can see all the aspects that are very important in design are covered. Your section sizes. We also have your rows. And pretty much everything that you need is within the design system. Okay, so let's talk about something else which is also very, very important. Now, chances are you want to add things in a grid, okay? And again, I'm going to use this as an example. I'm going to add quite a few items in here. And if I go onto my rows here, I can go to design, layout, and then make sure that, I'm supposed to be in my elements, column, and then these are the items in my columns. I can go in here and then say direction, horizontal. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so first things first, I'm not sure if you caught this, but we need to change this row into a content row. Okay, content row. It's very important because this is how we achieve our 12 column grid. Okay, so we have these items here, but what we've done here is we've used Flexbox, right? But do you know there's certain situations where you want to have a column, but you want to define how many items you need in that column? For example, let's say we go into our column here. We can go in and say, you know what? I want a 2-column grid. Boom. Right? So now it has brought this down to 3 columns. Okay, now sometimes what happens is the size of each item determines how the column grid is going to work. So you can see here, we can choose different columns. If we can say auto grid, okay? So auto grid, if we keep adding items in here, you can see it just keeps adding them and it's done automatically, hence the name auto grid. Now, if you were to do this grid manually, using Divi, there's a lot of clicking around and a lot of things to try and fix, which again is going to frustrate you a lot. So when you take a look at the design system, there's a lot that's in the design system. I want to design something quickly so you can see how really exciting this is. So we're going to design a basic card. Okay, so I want to go with a 2-column and then go into a group. And then in this group now, I am going to start off with an image. Okay. And after the image, we're going to have, let's go with a text like that. And then after the text, we need to go in and add a heading because we're going to have a heading in here. And we're also going to have another text module. So let's just duplicate this one here and drag it below the heading. Okay. And then finally, we're going to have a call to action. So I'm going to click here and add a button. So where's our button? Oh, there we go. All right. So since we are working on this section here, let's drag it all the way to the top so it's easier for us to see what we're doing. All right. So here we are. We're designing our card. So what I'm going to do now is to go in and start labeling all this and add some dummy text. Okay, so you can see I've gone in, I've added all my dummy text in here. So let's go ahead and fix the spacing because right now the spacing is off and I'm sure you can agree with me that the spacing doesn't look great. So I'm going to go in here now and go to design. Under the layout, I'm going to go in and set my gap to 0. Okay, so this is where now I'm going to go in and start defining everything that I need here. So first of all, I'm going to go into this one here and ideally I want this to be a badge. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and choose K badge. But if I want to be a bit fancy, I can go in and say, you know what? I want a primary color badge, right? Next, I'm going to come over here and perhaps this, since this is a heading, it's on a small item, it's either going to be heading 3 or heading 4. So let's try heading 4. Now, actually, let's go with heading 4. Okay, because that's the right size anyways. Next, I am going to come over here. And since this, again, is a small item, I'm going to go with text small. Okay, and then finally, for our button, I'm going to go in and say button small. So let's go for our secondary button small. Okay, the next step now is to add our spacing between items. So I'm going to go into the button here and under the spacing, I am going to set this to, oops, I went to the wrong one. I'm going to go to margin top small. And then this one here is going to be extra small. Now I want you to see the design workflow. So this one here, we said extra small. In fact, let's go with 2 extra small. Okay, and then here I'm going to go to my sizing. Let's select it one more time. We're going to go to our sizing, and this here, I keep selecting the wrong item. It's the sizing I need. No, the spacing I need. So here I'm going to set this to, let's go with medium. No, I selected the wrong item. It's supposed to be this, and then spacing, and then, no, medium is too much. Let's go with small. There we go. All right. So this label now, I don't really want it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the position. So I'm going to go to advanced in case you didn't see that. And then I'm going to say position, and it needs to be absolute. So now you can see the positioning of that is all the way to the top left, and I can define where I want it to be, whether it's to the top right, but okay, in this case I want it top left. So the next thing now is for me to go in and really specify where I really want it. And this is where things get really exciting. And if you're using this design system, you're going to notice that we have variables. So we are going to do this manually. So I'm going to go in here, right? Instead of using my normal margins, which are predefined, I am going to go in and use my own margins. So for the margin left, I'm going to click on this little icon here and look at that. So what we're looking for here is space. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for space small. Where's our space? Okay, let's go back up here. So we got space small right there. And then for the top, right, I am also going to add a space small. Excellent. So that is exactly where I want it to be. So now that our card is almost completely designed, I'm going to go in here, add a bit of padding around this. I'm going to go in and say medium. Okay. And while I have that, I also need to add a background color. So I'm going to go to my background here and add a light. Okay. Finally, I just need to go in here and add my image, and we are going to go with, okay, let's go with this image right here. Boom. Okay, so I've just designed my card from scratch. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, this is really awesome. I can now save this to the media library or whatever. And if you take a look and see, this card is responsive. Now look how nice it looks on a tablet. Now let's look at it on a mobile. Look at that. The button has gone smaller based on the screen size. Now this is how we're supposed to be designing in Divi 5. We are using a system approach. Okay, so at this stage you're probably saying, but Mac, you know what? So what about the theme builder? You know, what happens there? Well, I've got something very exciting to talk to you about, because the theme builder is also part of the design system. So what the theme builder is really is, in fact, let's exit here so I can show you. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's just publish this. So as you design with Divi, right, there are so many areas that you need to go in and fix. So it's going to be over here in the theme builder. Okay, by default, you are not going to have all these. So I have an installation video, by the way. I will show you how to install that. So if you take a look at this, you're going to start noticing that we have our pages designed for us. You see that? Pre-designed. The sizes are the correct sizes, and this color here takes on the color of our design system. We have a 404 page, we have a blog page, so everything is going to look very consistent. So you can see here we have our templates ready for us to start getting all the information. Okay, we also have our blog here, so you can see it has a search bar, and if we click here we can start searching. Very clean, very easy to use. All you do is you just set it up once, it's plug and play, and it is pretty awesome. Now there's a page which we don't have, which is ideal for every single website, and again you get it with this design system. Let me show you what page it is. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. We're going to call this page a dashboard, okay, because that's what the page is supposed to be. So let's go in and name this dashboard. Okay. Now you are going to be really amazed when you see this. So I'm going to save and publish. Now notice what I'm doing here. I'm not adding anything to this page, right? All I need to do is to refresh this page and map it to our template, which I have already designed for you. Okay. So we're going to come over here, right? And then we're going to say use on, and then we're going to say specific page, specific page dashboard. Right? And then save. Now, if you are going to be designing websites for clients, you want them that when they log in, they see a beautiful dashboard page. So let's get rid of this and then type our dashboard and boom, look at that. This is what your client sees when they log into their own website. And if they want to create a brand new dashboard, now notice that the header and the footer is also designed for them. It is part of the template. So you're getting a website which is, I would say, 50% there. So you've been saved so much time in designing the footer, designing the header, and so on. But anyway, let's talk about the dashboard. So this is the dashboard they get. And if they want to add a new blog post, they just do that. It's automatically linked. Do you see how easy that is? If they want to add a new page, they just do that. And then they add a new page. If they want to view all the pages, they just say all pages. If they want to upload media, they just click on upload media, and that's it, right? If they want to reach you for support, this is where you add your email address, and just like that. So this is a professional way of showcasing your website, especially if you're a design agency or a freelancer. If you show your client that this is the page they get as soon as they log in, it takes them out of this really nasty, page that looks like this. In fact, I've disabled a lot of things here. Usually it has a lot of things going on here, and it is very, very confusing for a lot of users. So you can you imagine having a website that has all of this? It is very frustrating, but thankfully the dashboard is a part of this. Okay, fantastic. Now you may be saying, well, okay, we have the dashboards, we have the modules that are pre-designed for us. That looks great, but sometimes you need designs that are very, very specific. Now, I'm super excited to tell you that we also have, as part of this design system, a library of components which are called KrafterPRO components. This is also an update to KrafterPRO. So let me show you how that works. So if I come over here to home and let's say edit with Divi, right? So we've designed this, we don't need this anymore. So let's start from scratch. Okay, so we're going in and we want to add a heading to this. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to add a heading and then I'm going to add, say, paragraph text, and look at this. I'm going to say add from library. Okay. And we have several headings here. So I'm going to go with heading 3. Boom. Use this module. And just like that, I have my headings. Do you see that? Perhaps I want heading 2. I'll delete that. Let's go in, add a heading 2. Oops. Add from library. And let's try heading 2. Use this module. There we go. I have a very good starting point. Everything has been measured. Everything is pretty much, done for you. All you need to do is to change this text. Okay, so let's say you want some testimonials. I'm going to go in here, add from library, and we have some testimonials. There we go. So we have testimonial 2 and 1. So let's go with 1. Use this module. There we go. We have our testimonial. So let's just duplicate this. So we have 2 of them side by side. So I'm going to go into my column here and let's do an auto grid. Okay. So we have them side by side. All I have to do at this stage now is to select my image like that and add my image. Make sure it's a square for this to look really, really nice. There we go. I've added my image. That is my testimonial. And of course you need to change the text, but let's say you want a different style. So you'd go in and add from library, testimonial 2. Use this image. Now look at that. If I want to change this image here, I can go to the background, change that image and add my own. Oops. Let's refresh this. Okay, so let's delete this one here. And you can see now we have a totally different testimonial. and it has this beautiful glass effect on it. Isn't that awesome? So we can literally go in and add, whatever image that we need. But of course, we need to make sure that the image is the right size and it fits. So you have to do a bit of testing. But for the most part, this is already done for you. How cool is that? So you may be asking, okay, so this design system, okay, fine. It comes with a guide. It comes with all these ready-to-use items. Okay, pretty cool. But how are we going to learn how to actually use this? Well, you're going to be amazed. I've actually created a course, and this course is called KrafterPRO. Just today, I've actually added 6 lessons, and these lessons are to do with the latest KrafterPRO. So here you can see it shows you how to install KrafterPRO, how to set up your colors and fonts, how to get started with typography, how to use the spacing scale, how to use the grid system, and so on. So it is very, very easy to use. You go in here as soon as you purchase this, or if you're already a member of Divi University, you can just go in and start learning just like that. So you can see
installing KrafterPRO design system for the first time, you need to.
And these videos are in 4K, which means if you want to enlarge it and really see what is happening, you can literally just make it large and it just fills the whole screen. And this is also powered by a really good player called the Fluent Player. And it also comes with a dedicated community. So this is where you get your full support. So over here, you can see we have a KrafterPRO community, which has over 1,000 members, right? These are people dedicated to using the design system. So you can see here, there's a lot of people helping each other, suggestions and tips and so on and so forth. So if you need help, this is where you'd go in and get help. Now, even yesterday, Eric here had an issue where he wanted to fix these clamp settings. And I did a dedicated video just to respond to him. Look at that. So this is the dedicated video.
So in this video, I'm going to be responding to one of our community members, Eric Bryant.
Do you see that? So this is a community which is very, very powerful. My dedication is to make sure that all Divi users or all Divi 5 users are using a system of some sort. I know it may sound like I'm really pushing you to buy my system, but if you're going to be designing websites professionally, you need to design your own system. Design your own system and use that. Do not go in and choose values manually, because that will not work. You are shooting yourself in the foot if you do that. Okay, so finally, let's talk about the offer. Okay, because of course, I am selling my design system and I've been selling it for a while now, but I have a special offer. So my offer here is for the complete design system. This design system, as you know, it comes with all the components. Now that component library, I only showed you a snapshot. It is going to be built pretty much every single week. That's going to be my goal. Every single week, I'll be producing a component, a design component that is professional, that is responsive, and that is going to be added to the library. Now, if you want to add it into your cloud, you can also do that. Add it to your cloud and you have access to all your websites as you're designing your website. That's going to be super, super awesome. And this is all going to be a part of this. You're also going to get, or in fact, you also get a user guide. This shows you what you need to do, so this is going to be a new approach of a proper way of designing. Now, I get a lot of inspiration from professional looking websites which are really working in real life, and that is how we're going to be updating all our components and all our design layouts. So whatever you're going to see from this point onwards on Divi University is going to be components and designs that are following the standard of design. So pretty much it's going to have a UI UX approach every single time. We're not going to be designing these random designs which have spacing which is off, which have fonts that are off, which has text which has bad contrast. No, everything we're going to be designing is going to be proper. I'm sure Divi 5 is here to stay. We're probably going to have this for the next maybe 3-4 years before it changes to something else. So we need to make sure we get off on a good starting point. So purchasing this, you're going to be a part of the family of UI designers who use Divi 5. And that is super, super amazing. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is a lifetime offer. If you purchase this, everything that's going to come with KrafterPRO, you're going to get absolutely free. Now, after this expires, then this is going to be a yearly subscription. So there's a lot of information here that I've put in. I mean, I couldn't cover every single thing. There's a lot that is in KrafterPRO. I mean, the color system here, the spacing scale, I go into describing what it is, and the preset-based workflow, I spoke about that. Here you can see the before and after. This is the default Divi module, and this one here is the one that we're using, KrafterPRO on. Okay, it has a complete user guide. Auto grid, I spoke about that. And if you really want a side-by-side comparison of why Divi 5 is different to KrafterPRO in its approach, I mean, you can see here, typography, right? Divi 5 has manual fonts, inconsistent, and no real system. That's true. That's not me trying to attack Divi, but that's how it is. It's a system. I mean, think of Divi as Figma. They can't give you all the values because everyone is going to have their own, type of values. Whereas KrafterPRO here has a clamp-based typography system. I mean, you can read this. I'm not going to read this throughout. But if you want, take a look at KrafterPRO, diviuniversity.com/KrafterPRO. Okay, and this here is very important. The truth is, Divi 5 demands a completely new workflow. If you don't adopt a design system, your sites will always look inconsistent and take twice as long to build, even more, right? And then, we also have the reasons why you need to purchase this. And before you buy this, okay, before you decide or even think about buying it, KrafterPRO is not for someone who wants Divi to work magically for them. No, it's not for you if you're that person. If you're that person that refuses to learn a proper design workflow for Divi 5, then this is not for you. If you're someone who wants a quick and dirty websites that have no structure, then this is not for you. If you're someone who doesn't care about design consistency, then this is not for you. So don't even bother. Don't even waste your time, because we're not going to be wasting time if you're not going to be following a proper design system. Okay. Now here, we also have your frequently asked questions. Do I need to be a designer to use KrafterPRO? Absolutely not. I'm going to have tutorials where I show you step by step how everything is going to be designed, how pretty much you need to do things the correct way. So the question now is, how much is this? Okay. So here, $197 is the lifetime membership. $197. Now, once this goes, the lifetime membership is going to be $297, and $197 is going to be yearly. So you are getting a lifetime membership for the yearly price. And this $197 is going to be used on unlimited websites. There's no restrictions. Unlimited websites. You have a full dedicated community here. You have a complete user guide. You're also going to have these design components that you're going to be using. We're going to be having groups masterclasses of design and the right approach. I'm also going to be doing live sessions. All of that is included in this. So this $197, look at it as an investment. It's an investment. I wish I could keep this, I'll make it cheaper, but as you can imagine, I've been working on this. I mean, in fact, my witnesses are all the members in the community who have been with me from the beginning. I've been designing this day in, day out, frustrations, expectations, meeting all of that, and also try to be a husband and a dad. So I've been super dedicated on this for literally, over a year. In fact, since Divi was in alpha. So my life has been dedicated to this, and I also have bills to pay. So that is why I can't make it any cheaper. But think about it this way. It's an investment, and you're also helping me out as I make the design process of designing websites with Divi even easier. So you're not just spending money, you're also helping me out and also saving a lot of time as you're designing these websites. Anyway, guys, like I said, this offer is going to be running out very, very soon. $197 lifetime membership for KrafterPRO. Okay, I want to be very specific. The lifetime membership is for KrafterPRO. You're going to get everything that comes with KrafterPRO. There's a lot in the pipeline. In fact, I'll be releasing a lot more videos very, very soon. So if you're part of the community, as soon as you purchase this, you're going to be invited to the community. You're going to get all your download links, and then you can, get up and running super fast. Anyway, I think I've spoken a lot. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to designing websites with you that are more professional. Let's say goodbye to Divi 4 and hello to Divi 5, a new way of designing websites in a system-based workflow. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.